as you attain certain levels of success, it gets easier to let that go. From my experience, I found that there's a couple different kind of people in the world, and this is a personal characteristic. There are people who achieve success and say, how do I get more? Right? There are people who are driven by constant improvement, and then there are people who achieve a certain level of success and say, yeah, this is pretty good. I'm going to sit around and stay at this level. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying that gets a lot easier once you get successful at something and make some money.
I know you said that you didn't think that any of your businesses were risky, but I'm sure there were times where you felt like, how did you deal with an uncertainty?
Wow, so that's a great question. I think the basis of starting a business is uncertainty. So right now I'm going across the country speaking to farmers. Farm Credit Canada hired me to talk to farmers about entrepreneurship. And on the surface you would think, what do farmers know about entrepreneurship? But if you think about being a farmer, you have a field that's at the absolute subject of the weather, which you don't control. I just think that you've got to keep going. I think that you don't control anything in life. When I wake up tomorrow morning, I don't control anything that's going to happen to me except my reaction to it. So I've never been good at controlling the elements. I always have multiple plans, right? I'm a very paranoid guy, which makes me good at security in computers. But I always have plan B, plan C, plan D, and I just kind of go. But I always try to control my reaction to it. Because, you know, one of the things you learn from these shows on Discovery and everything is the most common way people die in a disaster is they panic. And that's the thing I find that was always a little bit different for me than my friends, is they try something and it didn't work, and it was like, ah! The world was going to end. Whereas for me, it was like, wow, that was a really bad idea. Next. Next. So a funny story, when I was starting out, I used to come home and I'd tell my wife, man, if I get this deal, it's going to put us over the top. If I get this deal, we're going to buy a bigger house, we're going to have a new car. This deal is everything. She'd be like, wow, I hope you get it. And a couple of weeks would go by, and she'd say, hey, whatever happened to that deal? And I'd be like, what deal? Like, I don't remember yesterday. Yesterday was 1,000,000 years ago. Tomorrow is just a promise. All I have is right now.
If you have a business idea and you want to pursue it, when do you decide how do you decide whether to quit your job and pursue it, essentially sacrifice everything else?
Well, if your dad has millions of dollars, you should quit your job right away and try. It's a very personal question. So I think number one thing you have to do in life is put food on the table. That is the absolute number one thing. There is no risk worth taking that puts your family at risk. Just a personal belief. There are people who've risked everything, rolled the dice, struck it big. It's just not in my profile. So I think you should never quit a job until you have another job. And similarly in business, you should never quit your job until you see the revenue actually coming in. Until the business is actually bringing cash, you probably shouldn't quit your job. Yep.
How did you get into tech?
So how I got into tech, I was in the film business, and I produced the Winter Olympics for Canada in 1984. I was the youngest field producer ever in an Olympic event. So my head was this big, right? So I go to Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, I produce the Olympics, I come back and I think, oh yeah, baby, like I'm going to be the next Steven Spielberg. Like I am just so full of myself, I can't, my head won't fit in through the door. And lo and behold, I can't get a job. You know, I can't get a job in the film business, no one will hire me. So my best friend to this day, Steve, who has a computer science degree, and I are sitting down, we're having a beer. I'm like, oh, I can't get a job in the film business, it's such an awful business. He's like, oh, I just went for this great interview with a guy who's vice president of IBM North America for marketing, He's starting a company, he's looking for employee number 1, and I think I blew the interview. I'm like, wow, great, do you mind if I apply? Oh no, he tells me it pays $30,000 a year. This is 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh no, more, it's 30 years ago, I'm old. So I'm like, $30,000, I'm gonna apply. So I call up the guy, I go see him, and you needed 5 years of sales experience and technology experience. So I'm having the interview, I have neither. But you have those epiphany moments in life where you say, just your gut feel, it says, this is it. And I know I have to get this job, but I can see him getting up, and I'm not gonna get this job. So he's literally about to get up, and his name was Denis Remo, and I say, Denis, you gotta give me this job. Because I'm thinking, if I don't change careers now, it's gonna be too late. You gotta start young. So he says, well, hey, look, I can't hire you, I don't have any sales experience, I don't have any technology experience. I said, you need an employee. I'll pack boxes, I'll do whatever, just give me a chance. He's like, I can't. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll work for free. So he looks at me and says, I can't hire you for free. If I hire you for free, I can't depend on you. And I look him right in the eye and I say, oh no, my friend, you can depend on me. He says, okay, I'll take a chance. Puts out his hand and I say, here's the deal. If I can do the job in 6 months, you'll pay me what you would have if I had the real experience. Says, done. Woohoo! I leave the office, I'm like, oh, I got a job, great. Oh, how do I pay for my rent? I was living on my own. I couldn't pay for my rent. So you know what I did? No problem. Every problem has a solution to it. I drove down to Yorkville, got a job at a place called Remy's, waiter and tables. So I do the computer gig during the day, and then from 8 till midnight, I'd waiter at a high-end restaurant wearing skimpy shorts and make enough money to pay for my rent. And that's how I got into the computer business and just stayed with it. And that's what I'm telling you is everybody in this room is really smart by the fact that you're here. Get into a field where the upside is really big. I'm not the most successful guy in the computer business in the world by any stretch of the imagination, or even in Canada. But I gotta tell you, I've done pretty good. I got a friend of mine who got into hardware retail sales, like that kind of stuff. Hard to make a lot of money in that field. Same amount of work, same amount of effort. Sorry, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Robert, and I wish we had more time for questions, but I know you have another session.
Thanks for having me.
So thank you so much. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
And just for your inspiration to all the students, I think it speaks volumes about you that as soon as the notice went out that you were going to be speaking, within 20 minutes, 7 of my friends forwarded to me and said, we need to go to this. So thank you for being an
Are they all
inspiration.
female friends? Because my son's right here.
New Venture Design, which many of you will know is a 4th-year course. It runs as a 2-term 6-credit course. It's by application only. You'll see some information going out about it shortly. It's an open house on this year's current teams. In a nutshell, we say it's not a business plan course, it's a starter business course. So if you're really interested in this area, then come along. We've got successful companies that have come out of it, and it's about the nearest thing I can think of in business school to getting you from the books to starting a business and maybe making your millions. And if this inspired you, then come on out. We'll pay you with engineers, and you go and invent stuff and commercialize it.